Good afternoon, everyone. Today is Tuesday, Election Day, May 18th, 2021. This is a special meeting agenda, meeting with Shelly Enderud, City Administrator for Post Falls, and Diane Fontaine, Executive Director of the Post Falls Urban Renewal District. Attending our commission is Duncan, Brooks, and Fillios. I'm officially calling this meeting to order. It is now 1:04 p.m. We've got a couple of items on our special meeting agenda. The first is the review of the Downtown Pleasant View Urban Renewal District, and that's a general discussion. And why don't we start with that one? So who would like to lead us? Shelly, take it. You probably want to get in close. Pull it up. There.
Good afternoon. Thank you for allowing us to come and talk to you today. So our downtown district is more of the traditional urban renewal. We did have a district called the City Center District that opened in '94 and closed after 24 years in the downtown area. And this district just looks at carrying on from there and adding additional city infrastructure. So it's focusing on items like parking, curbs, sidewalk, roads. There is some parks infrastructure in there, gathering places included, and part of that is we have right now a section of rail that runs through our downtown area. That is anticipated to be abandoned in about 5 to 10 years as Plummer Forest Products closes, and they'll no longer be using that section of rail. And there's 2 switch yards included in that downtown area. And so the conversation at this time is for that to be turned over to the city. And we would be able to put something like a farmer's market or something similar with that property, some kind of a gathering space. The items within that district that are included are in tiers. So we've kind of looked at what do we believe will happen in the downtown area over the next 20 years. But any item that is included for projects can happen when the city and urban renewal determines there's a need. So for example, we have 2 mills, old mill sites that are included in our downtown area that are included in the district. When we were putting together the plan, there were no immediate plans for those to develop, but now they've been acquired by developers. And so they are looking at some commercial and townhouses on the old Idaho veneer site. And I know there's like a natural grocers and a bookstore and a coffee shop on the northern parcel of the old Idaho veneer site that they're planning for at this time. And so they would be eligible for infrastructure reimbursement for infrastructure items that support the commercial areas of those developments. And so those are items that were that may be further down in the tiers, but would be eligible for reimbursement should they submit prior to the city submitting for any kind of projects. Currently, we are looking at a parking project in 2022 with the city that would be funded out of the city. It's not an urban renewal funding at this point, and would not be requested for urban renewal. And that would be just off Spokane Street, looking at 2nd and 3rd Avenue, where we've had some restaurants that have located there. There is no parking right now. It's just people parking along the side of the road. And also in the old mill site that runs along the river called the Landings, the city is working with a Vista to build a park. Again, that park is outside the urban renewal reimbursement, and that is being completed currently. It started about 2 weeks ago. And there's a missing piece of esplanade that runs along the river there that we're in negotiations with to potentially also complete with that project. And again, those are city funds that are being used to reimburse, used to complete those projects. And so right now we're just looking at trying to encourage that commercial development in our downtown area and kind of continue what has started over the last 20 years with starting to see some restaurants and a brewery and some small retail shops locate. We have had a urologist has also purchased a site at 3rd and Spokane Street on the north side, and they're going to build a commercial on the bottom floor, urology offices on the 2nd floor, and that permit will be pulled this year. So.
Okay.
And then Diane has some financial information that I think she handed you that she could review.
Good afternoon. So on the first sheet that I gave you, it's on the second half of that sheet, the downtown district is. And I just showed the base value of the district. So those taxes will continue to go to the taxing entities. And then at 50% and 100% developed, we calculated the incremental value of that. And so down at the bottom, it shows the taxes that would go back to the county at the close of the district, and I took the 80% value of that. On the last sheet of paper that I gave you, it shows the 100% and the 80%, so you can see the new legislation, how that will affect urban renewal in the future. It's quite a significant decrease in values and tax increment that you guys will receive. This year, on both of these plans, we added a new appendix to the plan that lists all the public meeting dates when the URDs were discussed, and also related press articles. We did that for better transparency, to let people know that we've thoroughly discussed these districts, and there have been public meetings where people can attend.
Okay.
And I'll follow up on that.
Yeah,
So
go ahead.
with the downtown district, we did have a city center parking master plan that was processed through the city. And the public meetings were held for that. And then we held what is called the city center master plan, which is more than just the parking. It looks at the actual overall development. And that plan has been completed over the last 2 years and is included with the district in the packet.
So Diane, you've got the sheet you just handed us before and after the 2021 legislation for the Pleasant View URD. So what's interesting is the before and the after. Yeah, there's a substantial decrease.
Right, and
Go ahead.
sorry, those are the monies that will go back to the county.
But we'll be getting that 20% every single year. Is that correct?
You would be getting the 80% every year after the district closes.
Sorry, the 20% just goes back to your market value, so it will reduce your levy rate.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
That's what
Okay,
I
okay.
didn't eloquently say.
And your expiration period, you're what, 10 years?
They're 20 years.
Oh, they're 20 years, okay.
But as we have in the past, as soon as an urban renewal district has paid back the infrastructure or the plan has been completed, we try to close those districts down as soon as we can.
Okay, okay.
And I would say Post Falls is one of the few cities in the state that we have done that, and we have a record of doing that, of closing down our districts early.
Yeah. Okay. Bill, do you have any questions? Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Out of this red area on the map, what percentage is considered blight?
The whole district was included in the resolution for the disadvantaged and blighted area.
Okay, even though that there have been some improvements in the area, they still consider that?
In the whole, when they do the study, the eligibility study, they do the whole area that we are trying to form the district in, so.
And I would say those improvements haven't occurred yet, so we're adopting the plan prior to those improvements occurring. So right now, all they've done is gone in and kind of tear down some of the old houses and the old mill site, but we haven't actually physically done the improvements yet.
Okay, so then this does encompass some prior URD as well. Is that what I understood from the beginning of the conversation?
Yes.
That's correct.
Okay, so what improvements were done in that prior URD?
We improved Spokane Street, widened that. Well, we didn't widen it, we just paved it and put
The
in some.
planters, the centerpieces.
And there's a parking lot, a Centennial Trail parking lot. There were improvements that were made to 4th Avenue. And what are the side streets? Henry and Frederick?
Yes.
Frederick and Henry. And we do have an approved plan for the extension of 4th Avenue that was paid for from that urban renewal district, and that we can carry that forward so that that work won't have to be redone.
Okay, is that one that was closed early?
It did essentially close early. The expiration date was 2018, but as you know, that we can still collect taxes in 2019, but we closed it in August of 2018 so that the taxing entities could take the new construction in their fiscal 2019 year. So it is essentially closed early.
Okay. Nancy, is anyone on? You've got 4 people. Diane, would you mind, I guess for the benefit of everyone, can you just take us through these sheets? So that everybody, at least for the folks listening in, can have an understanding. Go right ahead, please. When we talk, for example, base value, go ahead.
Okay, the base value is the value of the property within the urban renewal district shown on the map. That's the base value of that district.
Okay,
Those monies stay with the taxing entities, and the increase in valuation is what goes to the urban renewal
To the urban
agency
renewal.
to pay off the infrastructure, public infrastructure that is put into those districts. And then that money goes back to the taxing entities once the district closes. It's available.
okay.
So do you want me to do both of them since we've only talked about the
Yeah, go
downtown
right ahead,
district?
yeah.
Okay, on the top is the Pleasant View Urban Renewal District. The base value of that district is $2.7 million. So that, according to your levy rate, this county's levy rate, generates $25,270 in property taxes. Those monies will continue to go to the county.
Go ahead.
And then we've projected 50% and 100% developed in that district. So at 50%, the total incremental value that will be available is $459 million, which equates to $833,422 going to the county. If it's 100% developed, as in the feasibility study, the incremental value increase is $881.9 million. So after it closes, that would mean $1.6 million going back to the county.
Okay,
And then at the bottom one is the downtown district. That base value is $182 million. It's billion, isn't it? Which equates to $1.7 million that you will continue to receive
based on current value.
based on current value.
Based
That
on-
actually isn't the total cities, or county, that's divided everybody's taxes. So at 50% developed, the incremental value will be $192 million, which will generate $349,000 in taxes every year. And at 100% developed, the incremental value is $288.9 million, which will generate $524,234.
Okay,
On the second page that I gave you, it's just kind of,
the past rebate history.
it's our past rebates that we've provided to the taxing entities to, just to reinforce that we don't hang on to the money just to do nothing with, that if we have extra money, we return it back to the taxing entities where they belong. We have 3 recent closures, and the new development from those that was available for taxing entities to take. So your incremental value would be $21,500 for the city center district, and when West LT's closed, there was $26,000. And that's per year going forward. And then we have 3 upcoming closures in 21 and 22, which will generate $532 million in new development. Going back to the taxing entities, for the county, that will mean $965,000 per year from those 3 districts when they close. And then at the bottom is I added the Post Falls Technology District, because that one
Right.
is 20 years, it doesn't expire till 2038. So it just goes to show you the new construction dollars that could be available after those districts close. And especially on the Pleasant View District, that is bare land right now. And so the development that goes on out there will be huge for the county and the cities and City of Post Falls and all the other taxing districts.
Okay,
And the last page that I gave you shows with the new legislation where urban renewal will be valued at 80% once the districts close. And that is exempt from the 8% cap. So when these
Right.
districts do close, you will be able to take 80%, but on this sheet I showed where it was, before the legislation for the Pleasant View, at 100% build out is $400,000 less per year that will be available for the county. And then on the downtown district, it's $231,000 less. So it's a significant hit to the taxing districts.
Yeah, the 2 million to 1.6, that's 20%. That's quite a hit. Whatever, okay.
I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Any questions? Thank you for that.
I'm formulating one, but it's not quite there yet.
Okay. Bill?
No.
Okay. So what do you need from us today? I guess that takes us to the second item, unless you still have your,
No, we can go on.
you want me to proceed?
Yep.
Okay. So the second item is the intergovernmental agreement for the Pleasant View District, City of Post Falls, and the Urban Renewal District, Urban Renewal Agency, excuse me, a potential action item. What do you need? Go ahead.
On the agenda, it says review of downtown Pleasant View.
Yes.
It's actually two different ones, the downtown urban renewal district.
And the Pleasant
and
View.
the Pleasant View
Right,
district.
understood.
So Shelly outlined the downtown district, but hasn't explained the
Oh, go right ahead, Shelley.
Pleasant View one.
So the Pleasant View District is more like our districts that we've had in the past on the west side of town, where it's based on job creation. And I provided just some maps for you guys to see, which I know you've seen it, it's in your packet with the Pleasant View. Basically, the city is looking at the properties on the east side of Pleasant View going from Celtice up to Highway 53. The primary focus is industrial out there. The zoning has been industrial, except for up in that, in the very top northern portion. That zoning is broken down into different districts. That annexation is before the council on June 1st. So that annexation piece, we have annexed all the way up to the solid waste parcel. And we entered into an agreement with you guys, and we have a strip of property that we now own that connects the two parcels up to the northern side of Prairie Avenue. That northern side is the second annexation piece that's before council on June 1st. All the other properties have been annexed like we promised you guys we would do when we came forward for the joint powers agreement. The focus is bringing that transportation company to Post Falls from Washington, and they'll be on that kind of parcel just south of the solid waste parcel. And with that, they will bring about 1,200 jobs and $250 million in revenue to the state of Idaho. Their estimated payroll is about $78 million, as I recall, that they're bringing over to the state of Idaho. The Bighorn Park that's on the west side did choose to remain in the county. That's not within our urban rural district, so at this time they are not going to be receiving services from the city. Again, the focus of this is primarily bringing industrial style development from that Celtice up to Prairie Avenue and job creation. And so it's kind of the urban renewal that you guys are probably more familiar with and what Post Falls is focused on more. And there is interest already from folks that are looking at the parcels that have annexed in are looking to sell basically, and there is interest for that once we can get the water and sewer. So phase one of the project is to take a force main up Pleasant View from Celtice up to Prairie Avenue, and there will be a small lift station built just on the north side of Prairie Avenue. It will also take an 18-inch water line from Celtice all the way up to Prairie Avenue, and the roadways will be improved in a traffic signal or roundabout. We're focusing on it trying to be a traffic signal because of the trucks, would be placed at Grange Avenue in Pleasant View. There are further, this is an area that's been looking at trying to develop for about 15 years, I would say. And prior to me being city administrator, they'd come to the city and we just said, we just cannot make this pencil. So it's taken a lot of work to figure out how to do phase one, phase two, and phase three separately. So phase two would then further the, another lift station would be placed on the site in order to develop where the school district's property is over on the east side. And then, so on that northeast side, some of that's not gonna have access to the wastewater right away. And even on some of the southern parcels, they won't have access directly to the wastewater in the first couple of years. It will be phase two that gives them access. Looking at development and what their timeline is, that fits perfectly. The city is funding a portion of the Phase 1 through water, sewer, and some of the roadway improvements. The developer is also funding a portion of that, and then Urban Renewal is funding a portion of it. There is also a $500,000 grant from the Department of Commerce that's attached to the job creation from the transportation company. So Phase 1 has pretty much been figured out how we can fund it and make it happen. This district, we are applying for another, what was called Build Grant. We applied last year. It's now called a Raise Grant this year, so it's about a $20 million infrastructure package. And part of that is based on a transload system that's gonna be on that rail there. And so we are optimistic. There's 3 tiers when you apply for these grants. We made it into the 2nd tier right away, and that's uncommon. And so that, and when we met with them after, they have a debrief, and so we spent about an hour and a half with one of the grant specialists. And he went over the changes that we needed to make to apply again this year to get us into basically the tier 1. And so we will be reapplying. These grants, it's not uncommon to apply 3 or 4 times. Some of the times, if your project isn't highly qualified, it could take you up to 10 times. We believe that we can secure this in a much sooner time frame than that. We're also looking at some smaller grants like EDA grants. And I guess what I'm trying to say behind this is if we can secure the grants, this district will close much sooner than the 20 years because we will not need the urban renewal increment to pay for Phase 2 and Phase 3 of this project. And so we are still focusing on trying to get those grants. We'll be reaching out to the taxing agencies asking for support letters. You guys provided us a support letter last year. KMPO provided, and we'll plan to provide us a support letter again this year, supporting us. And we're reaching out to Fulcher's office and Crapo's office also. And I've been told by Crapo they will provide us a support letter already. And the governor's office has indicated they will also. So this urban renewal, I really do anticipate that we'll be able to close earlier. I think we're going to see some high quality development out there. And right now is, I don't know if you guys ever go out to the solid waste person. Vacant land, a lot of rocks, things like that. Some of the property will be difficult to develop, so it will take some time.
Shelly, is the Pleasant View project basically being?
For probably a year before they've selected this site.
Right.
And the governor's office is pushing pretty strong to also get that company to locate in Idaho. So we have really good support from the state for this project.
And there's also a trucking company? That's part of it?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, so the trucking company would have the transload system.
okay. Interesting. Any other questions?
So this, I don't think really qualifies under blight necessarily, but it qualifies under economic development,
Yeah, economic disadvantaged border community.
disadvantaged border community.
Okay. That's an interesting term.
And I think they included some language on blight on it just because of the fact that the infrastructure is difficult to get up to this area. So the water and sewer is expensive to get the services to these parcels.
I know what I meant to ask earlier. When I said trucking company, I meant the subsidiary of a trucking manufacturer, right? They're also coming in, is that correct?
Yes, so I have to say, we deal with people coming all the time. They're always going to bring partners. I have yet to ever see anyone ever bring a partner. These guys actually have their partners who have provided their site plans prior to them locating. So Kenworth has submitted their site plan and is working with community development. They did their groundbreaking about a month ago out on the west side of town. And Western Trailer has submitted their site plan. They haven't done their groundbreaking yet. But they will also be locating out to that west side of town where what we call is Expo, but it's where Cabela's and Cisco and such are. They're locating out there on, I believe they're each 5-acre parcels, and they will be doing parts and some repair work. They won't be doing any sales of Kenworth trucks. And then Western Trailer, I think, will be doing both on their site. There'll be some sales and some repair work in parts and such for Western Trailer. And I guess the fire district's excited about that because they're going to have to start buying Kenworth on some of their product because their current product is being discontinued, whoever they've been buying it through. So I just heard that the other day, that they're excited that Kenworth's coming to town.
Okay. Any other questions?
Just this intergovernmental agreement, what does it mean if the county doesn't sign it?
So it would not allow us to have the parcels that are on that northern side of Prairie Avenue in the district until they were annexed.
Which is June 1st.
The annexation will take longer than that. They said we will have the public hearing then, but there's ordinances and such that have to be filed.
Gotcha.
Okay.
And I think you might have already said they're all in agreement.
Yes, yeah.
And I don't know if this is related, but I'll bring it up anyway, and if not, then that's fine. But we got some flack from some folks. Obviously, I think it's, how do I put this? Who are having concerns over the growth. And one of the concerns that was raised is why we transferred the parcel over to you guys, which allows, I guess, the continuity and the consistency to allow for the development. Or is that's something different though, isn't it?
No.
Is that deal, or are we talking one and the same here, or would that have to do with residential?
It's all within the district.
It's all within the district?
Yeah, so it applies in the fact that it allowed us to annex the area on the north, which is commercial, industrial, and there is some residential in there. So the original plan had called for almost all that stuff on the north to be residential, and we met with that developer and they changed their plans, so now it's got a much smaller section of residential.
Okay.
He is developing the county. He owns property to the east of that on the map. There's a parcel that's not colored in that is just south of Highway 53. It's a rather large block. And
Yeah.
that is all being developed in the county as residential 5-acre lots. And so that will not come into the city. Not, I
Okay.
should say, that's not coming into the city at this time. 20, 30, 40 years down the road, they could always apply to
Okay.
come in. But
So that's within our purview?
yes.
Okay. Anything else? So are you okay with the second item? Do we have any concerns with the intergovernmental agreement? Pat, please.
Mr. Chairman, Pat Braden, Civil Deputy Prosecutor. I think Ms. Enderud already addressed the part of what I was going to address. The commissioners had already adopted a resolution regarding the Pleasant View proposed URD that agreed that there was a need for an urban renewal plan for that area. This would be the second of 3 steps, the intergovernmental agreement. That's basically the agreement between the county and the city that the remaining parcels would be able to be annexed into the district prior to the finalization of annexation. And then the third part, which is not on the agenda, would be a transfer of power ordinance that formally does that transfer, allowing the parcels to be annexed into the URD prior to annexation into the city. That does not require a public hearing. You can have one if you want. If you're okay proceeding on that without a public hearing, we could schedule it as soon as next Tuesday. If you do want one, then we would need to publish notice.
28 days?
No, I'm thinking 14 days and 7 days.
Okay.
Given that there's no specific period for that. That would take it past June 1st, but likely the annexations would not likely be final by then.
Okay. So, but what we're potentially approving today, however, is the second part that you alluded to earlier, right?
Yes.
Okay. The second of 3 steps.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then does that obligate us to the third step? I mean,
Not necessarily. I mean, I think it's a pretty strong statement of intent. I think you would have to formally rescind the first 2 if you were to not want to adopt the third.
What's actually involved in the third?
That's the ordinance that state law requires to transfer that ability of the parcels to be annexed into the urban renewal district.
But the annexation
The
is,
city's urban renewal district, I should say.
But the annexation really applies to industrial use, for the most part.
So there's two annexations. One's the annexation of the parcels actually coming into the city. What Pat is referring to is the annexation of them because they're still in the county being annexed into the urban renewal district. So it's two different things.
Yeah,
Right.
we're giving permission ahead of the annexation.
Ahead of the annexation, I understand that, right.
Yeah.
But the annexation itself results in essentially what is industrial use.
Yes. And so when you have the public hearing, there's still we still have to record the ordinance and
Right.
the agreements have to be finalized and stuff. And so that's why the decision's really made on June 1st, yes or no, the city's gonna allow these to be annexed, but
Right,
it does
right.
take longer to get everything recorded.
Yeah, the reason for my question is that with everything that's going on, economic development to me is a key cornerstone if we're going to be able to accommodate the growth that we're being essentially deluged with. And so if we were talking annexation strictly for residential purposes, I think we'd have a different battle on our hands and probably a humongous one for that matter. But what we're looking at here basically is economic development. And I think that's the point that needs to be stressed.
Yes, and we're not, so we have the same group of folks talking to the city that's talking to the county about growth and some of their concerns. And their concerns are primarily focused on the residential.
On the
piece.
residential, right?
Yes.
Any other thoughts, concerns?
Just that if growth pays for itself, these URDs don't really allow that to happen incrementally. They, you know. So that's just my concern. I'm just not a big fan of them, even though I appreciate Post Falls, how well you have executed in the past, and I'm believing that this will follow.
Thank you.
And again, you know, we're generating jobs and jobs generate taxes, so maybe at least there's an element of growth that is going to pay for itself, especially when you're bringing in that level of revenue, potentially.
Yes, and so I spoke to Sam Lookinger at I don't think I brought those numbers with me, at the Department of Labor, and so that $78 million in payroll, when they multiply it out. So
That's where I'm getting
retail
at. Go ahead.
and manufacturing all have different multipliers, and this falls into that multiplier closer to the manufacturing. So for the 1,200 jobs that this company brings to Idaho, it creates an additional like 1,166 jobs or something. It's almost close to a
Support.
doubling.
I just wonder where we're going to get all those people to work.
So this company,
live.
because it is
Yeah,
close
and
by,
live,
will be
yeah.
bringing most
Bringing
of
some of 'em.
their folks with them. Now, the new job creation that is created from these guys coming over here, obviously, when Kenworth and Western Fairland, some of them's come, they will be looking for folks to fill those positions.
Right, but housing here is pretty difficult.
So at least this one, because we did have that conversation, this one with the 1,200 jobs, we may have a handful of folks looking for, to move from the Washington side to the Idaho side, but primarily there will not be an influx of folks looking for housing.
I think it was just about 100 out of the 1,200, if
Yeah,
I'm not
that's
mistaken.
Probably pretty correct.
Okay. Anything? I guess we need a motion, because we have an action item.
I move that we approve the intergovernmental agreement for the Pleasant View District and the urban, are we doing both, Pleasant View and downtown?
Just the only approval we need is for
For
the
the
intergovernmental
Pleasant View.
agreement for Pleasant View.
Okay, for Pleasant View with the City of Post Falls and the Urban Renewal Agency.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Duncan.
Aye.
Chairman Fillios.
Aye, and the motion is hereby carried. Thank you, Shelly and Diane.
And so we'll need to get that transfer of power ordinance scheduled as soon as possible.
Okay.
I mean, I'm fine with a public hearing as long as the dates don't severely impact the city and the agency.
I don't see any issue with the dates on that, so, because everything is gonna be happening in that same realm of time frame. I think it's fine.
So what are we looking at, Pat, 14 or 7?
Yeah, probably, I would say 14 and 7. I mean, we could have, actually, June 1st would be the day of our normal Tuesday.
Business
Business
meeting, and we
meeting.
can fold the public hearing into
Right,
that. Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Works for me.
All right, then. That's what we'll shoot for. Okay. Public comment. Hearing none.
Anybody on the line? Nancy, no public comment there? Okay.
Okay, then, 1:39, meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.